This is Your Anxiety Toolkit, episode number 147. Welcome to Your Anxiety Toolkit. I'm your host, Kimberly Quinlan. This podcast is fueled by three main goals. The first goal is to provide you with some extra tools to help you manage your anxiety. Second goal, to inspire you. Anxiety doesn't get to decide how you live your life. And number three, and I leave the best for last, is to provide you with one big, fat virtual hug. Because experiencing anxiety ain't easy. If that sounds good to you, let's go. Hello. Welcome back to Your Anxiety Toolkit. Hi, how you doing? How are you all doing? We are on week, I think it's 7 or 8 of COVID-19. And I think we're going strong. We will be here for a little bit longer for as far as I understand. So this week is, hold your head up high and just do the next best thing and put one foot in front of the other. And I coach myself like that all day long, right? It's sort of what we have to do when things are the way that they are. Okay. Well, let's get into it. It's episode 147, and I already gave you cues last week on what we are talking about today. I wanted to extend on the compassion content and really get deeper into you accessing compassion for yourself and understanding and knowing where that compassion comes from within you. So this is one of my favorite topics. It's one that, like I said, it's probably my favorite topic of all time. So I'm going to be really enjoying working through this with you. Before we do that, let's have the I did a hard thing for the week. I haven't been doing them lately, but I am back on track. And this week it is from Mary Ann. She said, on top of the coronavirus situation, in the past 6 months, after being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, I have had to face my biggest fear, which was to get a bevy of blood tests, one of which was the very subject of my OCD theme. I've had to learn to take one day at a time more than ever and deal with the uncertainty of chronic illness. I am healthy, and I don't have any current symptoms aside from the one that led to my diagnosis, but nevertheless, having a diagnosis can be scary, one that will require me to do hard things for the rest of my life. Oh, Marianne, my heart is so full and sending so much love for you. I so resonate with what you're saying here. I know I haven't really filled you guys in on where I'm at because, a lot of you knew that I actually was tested for multiple sclerosis last year. And Marianne, I just support you and love you. And, I'm sending such well wishes in your way. So, thank you for being a part of our community. But, as I look back on that, it's just on how scary all of that testing was. So, my heart is 100% with you. And for me, as I was saying, I too have had to accept an illness as a part of my life. It has been a very challenging thing, but I've also somewhat been very grateful for it. And I know that sounds incredibly annoying to hear people say that, and I totally get what you're saying. I would have said it once too, but I have, a lot of you know, I have postural orthostatic tachycardic syndrome. We call it POTS. It has been really good for the last 3 months. I was really in a rhythm, but since COVID-19, my rhythm fell apart and the symptoms came back really strong. So I've had to double down on really listening again to what my body needs. And that's why I say I'm so grateful, because I'm in tune with it so much more. And I've had to adjust to so many things. So, for anyone out there who's dealing with a chronic illness, I just validate you on how hard it is. And absolutely, I know we can do the hard thing, but it doesn't make it easy, right? It doesn't mean it's easy. And I just, I'm sending you all my love. Okay, let's do this. Okay. Now, I am hoping in today's episode to get you in touch with the compassion that lives inside you. So often when I am with clients and patients, as I said last week, they often will say, I just can't access compassion. I don't know what that feels like. I don't know how to do that. I can't conceptualize what that would look like and feel like. And I really, really try my hardest with clients to help them find their compassionate voice that's always been there. This voice, this thing, this compassionate self has always been there. It's just that sometimes other messages and voices and things override it, and the volume's higher on the other things, and the compassionate voice is sometimes very, 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 very soft, and it's very hard to hear, and you've got to listen very deeply for it. But thing is, once you get better at listening, it is easier to pick up. So I want to sort of walk you through this, and if you're driving, please, pull over or just listen along and don't close your eyes or anything. But, let's walk through it. So take a minute, settle in, and maybe if you feel comfortable, give your attention to your breath. And just feel a general rhythm. Don't put any pressure on yourself to breathe any particular way. Just follow the rhythm like a beat of a drum. And you can close your eyes or leave them open. And then as we embark on really accessing your compassionate self and your compassionate voice, I just want you to remind yourself that you deserve this, that this is inside of you. It's not something you earn. It's not something you get if you're a good girl or a good boy or a productive person or you didn't have thoughts. It's always there to access, right? And you deserve to hear these voices, right? And in addition, you deserve the loving kindness that every human deserves, right? So as you continue to sort of follow your breath, allow any thoughts and feelings, any sensations, any urges, allow them to come and go, just allow them to be a part of this process. They're not a problem, really. I don't want you to see them as a problem. They're just going to show up as they want. And I want you to imagine that little voice inside you is really raring to speak up. And it's ready to fill you with a loving, light sense of self-compassion. Now, I wanted you to reflect as we do this I'm going to ask you some questions. And I'm going to ask them so that you can tap into this voice and maybe become more familiar with this voice. So continue to close your eyes or you can open them. Just follow your breath and stay with me here. And I'm going to ask you, this compassionate self, this compassion that lives inside you, if you were to listen for it, would the voice that it speaks to you in or whispers to you in, is it a masculine voice or a feminine voice, or maybe another voice, right? Maybe it doesn't identify as masculine or feminine. But just check in and get familiar with, what does the voice sound like? Right? Don't worry about what it's saying. We're just tapping in here. And then if you can, I'd like you to sort of listen and imagine if you really got in touch with that compassionate self that lives deep in you, what tone would it speak to you in? Would it speak softly or deeply or loudly? Would it be sweet or would it be tender? Get a feel for it, maybe even really settle in and see if that tone can land. All right, so Let's keep going. Let's befriend this a little bit more. When you think about this compassionate self, is there any colors that show up? Is there any colors that come to mind? Or maybe textures? Clouds or, cushions or smooth. It doesn't matter. There is no right or wrong. You're just becoming familiar with this. Okay, so here we get really close. And we listen in. Okay. It's almost like you hold your hand up to your ears if you're really trying to listen, right? And I'd like you to ask yourself, how would you like this compassionate self within you? How would you like it to relate to you? How would you like for it to show up for you? In what places? In what situations? Would it be a supportive voice or more of a compassionate, gentle voice or an encouraging voice? How do you want it to relate? And now I want you to ask, how would you like to relate to this compassionate self? Would you like to be open? Would you like to be friendly? Would you like to embrace it? Would you like to soften around it? Would you like to let it yell and be loud and, make some noise? How would you like to relate to your compassionate self? And now, if you can sort of again access this compassionate self that's within you, how does that self, that compassionate self, how does it show its commitment to you and your wellness? Is it always there with you and you feel it? Is it something that you want to always show up at particular times? Do you want to have a sense of unconditional love from it? Right? How do you want it to show up and commit to you? Right? Maybe you want it to say, I promise I'll always be there. I'll never leave your side. And that's what my voice says, my compassionate self. It basically says when I listen in, it's like, I got you. I'm with you. I'm not going to leave. No matter what, I got you. And the next question is, what do you truly need? You, right? Tap into you. What do you need to feel a real sense of warmth and safety from this compassionate self? What is it that you require? Some people say to feel loved. You want to feel loved before you can trust something, right? You want to feel loved by them before you feel like you're safe with them. And that's okay. Like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. Some people say, I want that commitment that we just talked about. Some people say, I want ultimately to sort of have this gentle, warm touch and tap on me, right? Just remind me, I'm here. Or maybe it's again like you're dropping down into some real deep sense of warmth and softness, tenderness. And so we're getting close to the end here, but this is probably one of the most important, which is it knows everything you're going through. It sees you. This compassionate self is with you. It's watching. It's there. Given that it knows where you are on your journey of wellness and life and mental health, given that it knows that, what would you like it to say? What is it that you need to hear from it? And try not to hold back. Try to just really listen and ask yourself, what do I need my compassionate self, that wise, okay, what would you like that voice to say? It's wise, it's committed, it's responsible, it's, unconditional, it's nurturing. What is it that you want it to say to you? So now, hopefully, if you can, and you are able to, you can feel a little more familiar with that compassion that is in you. Now, for those of you who did not feel anything and could not imagine anything, that is totally okay. And I still celebrate you, because a huge part of the work that we do with compassion is in intention. It's the intention of showing up for yourself. Every time you try to be self-compassionate, just the act of trying is self-compassionate. Even as if you try and you don't feel like you're doing it well, or you can't access any, just the fact that you're trying is an act of compassion. And so celebrate that. Really be open and experiment with that, because it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And the more you do this, the more you will hear it and the more you will feel it. And please remember, accessing your compassionate self is not supposed to make your pain go away. It's not here to make things pretty and lovely and unicorn-like, right? That's not what compassion is. Compassion is about meeting your suffering with safety, right? I may have mentioned that last week. It's about showing up and being your person, being the person who is your person during a hard time. And when you can do that, you're going to be fine, right? Like I said, I got you, right? I got you. I ain't going anywhere. Okay. There is one more step to this, but I'm going to take a break, give you guys some time to just marinate in this for a while. Promise me that you'll practice this. As silly as it seems, I've had some patients who have rolled their eyes at me and saying, Kimberly, seriously? You're going to make me do this? I have no idea what you're talking about. Even if you feel that way, try. This is really, really important. It's really crucial for your mental health. And think of it like emotional training. You're training for the Olympics, right? It's about ultimately, it's giving you a tool that you'd probably maybe need right now, but you don't think you need, but one day you will. And then you'll get to use it. You'll have it with you and you'll be your person. Okay. I love you guys. Be well, be kind, be gentle, give yourself a break, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Please note that this podcast or any other resources from cbtschool.com should not replace professional mental health care. If you feel you would benefit, please reach out to a provider in your area. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for supporting cbtschool.com.